Thank you, Stevan. I think we run in many circles. Stevan, even though he's from Clark, what he's not telling you is that he's been a champion for kids across Nevada. I think a couple of weeks ago, I was shedding layers of clothes when we were talking about JAG and Jobs for American Graduates. And in that conversation, he was really talking globally about students across Nevada and workforce development. So we want to thank you for the work that you're doing. Of course, welcome to our annual Leadership Institute that we have every year. A special thank you to the Public Education Foundation. As I was sitting there, I was thinking, where's Dr. Miley at? Brian, I was thinking that we have been doing this work for over 20 years together. And I thought about when we first met and the work that we're doing for kids and the work that public education does to ensure kids across Nevada have equal opportunities. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. Tell Judy we missed her, but the work goes on and continues. It was interesting to see some of my former bosses here today. Keep all those stories to yourself, Mr. Jeremy Hauser. But even more important, the leadership across Nevada. We have Superintendent from Humboldt County with us today, Mr. Dave Jansen, and I think we have some trustees from Clark County in the back room with some of their leadership team. We thank you too for being here today, a part of this as we really grow as a state to do the work for our children. In order for us to support student success, we have to be about all kids. And Washoe County School District is committed to 64,000 kids. We talk about every child by name and face to graduation. But I believe the educational leadership in the state is committed to all the children in Nevada, whether they're in rural, whether they're in Clark, whether they're in Washoe, Esmeralda, Humboldt, and I can list on and on. But here in Washoe, 56% of our students come from multi-ethnic families. Most of the students here a decade ago didn't look the same. So the people who provide service for students are not the same students that we serve. But that is probably common across many places in America. 45% of our students come from poverty. And when you think about 45%, we are almost half of our students live in poverty. 3% of our students are children in transition, and we understand the work that we have to do around that. But what I can say is we've been dedicated for equitable practices, and I am so proud that we have closed achievement gaps for all students. And when we look at the work we've done, it's been phenomenal. And I have to say to each principal in here, you should give yourself a round of applause. And no pun intended at Clark or Humboldt, but it is fascinating when an outside entity from DC can say that your district is ranked #1 in the state. Give yourselves a round of applause. One of the things that I'm most really excited about is the work we've done around parent engagement, but also the work that we've done around equity and diversity. Tiffany Young, is your team here, Tiffany? Tiffany Young, please stand up. I need to share a story that Tiffany and her department shared in a group meeting. They talked about the burden that they take home every day by the challenges they face around being uncomfortable about issues that happen in our schools. And they talk about how principals are trying to do better things and to make sure that we are taking into consideration the things that happen to our students. And it is uncomfortable. As Stevan said, we started this conversation upstairs with very uncomfortable words. But in those uncomfortable words, the superintendent had to get uncomfortable and actually acknowledge out loud that I have implicit biases. And those implicit biases have to be checked too, because no matter who you are, the color of your skin, the gender, race, and all that, we all have implicit biases, and we have to know that those implicit biases may have an impact on the work that we do. And how do we check those things at the door so that when we're doing our work, we take into consideration everything? So this is why this theme of excellency through equity fits into the mission of the work that we do. But it's not just the work that we do. We have to get uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable to talk about race. It is uncomfortable in this nation right now to talk about race, to talk about poverty, to talk about politics. We got to start talking the conversation about doing the right thing for every kid, regardless of the race, the religion, the gender, and all those things. Because until we do that, there will be kids that will fall through the cracks. And we don't want any of our children to fall through the cracks. This morning, John and I had a rich, robust conversation, And in that conversation, words like white man, African American, black female, style came up. And we talked about what that looks like, how that can be negative or it can be positive. And how do we deal with those issues? And you have to have those courageous conversations. Was it a little weird when Dr. Greta PA started calling out white man for us? Yeah, you should have seen the look on Victor Shabandi's face. And if you know Victor Shabandi, there was a look on his face. But even better, regardless of all those looks, what happened in that room didn't matter if we were from Clark, Washoe, Humboldt, Maryland. Didn't matter if you were African American, Hispanic, white, female, Baptist, Mormon, whatever. The conversation was about how do we get uncomfortable to get better for all students. And that's going to be a challenge. That's going to be a challenge for me. That's going to be a challenge for you, because that work is new and it's messy. Today, you have an opportunity. John is so amazing. I am so sad that I will miss your keynote because I have board training. It's Pedro in the house. Pedro, my man from AASA and the Howard Academy. Phenomenal work that you're doing. We've heard you so many times, so it is a pleasure to have you here in Reno, Nevada, to have courageous conversations with us around equity and access for all children. So thank you for being here with us today. I'm going to close with something simple. We can talk about what we're going to do, and that's great. But it is time that we take action for every boy and girl that walks through the doors of any classroom in Nevada, not just Washoe, any classroom in Nevada. Because when we get uncomfortable, when we take action, what will that do for our future? Because there are boys and girls that need each and every one of us to advocate for them, to understand their challenges, and for us to do the right thing. So today I'm going to challenge you, not just to talk about a plan, to talk about taking action and getting uncomfortable. Thank you, and have a marvelous day. And we are happy that you folks from down south are appreciative of this great weather we have, Stefan.